Since becoming a father, one of the cool things I've discovered is to go back to some of the fairy tales and the fables that I had read to me when I was a kid and to share those with my own son, the next generation. What's been cool is to discover how many of those fairy tales and fables have really profound messages and lessons embedded within them. In fact, one that stood out is that good old-fashioned book, The Hare and the Tortoise. Now, I don't know if you had that read to you when you were a kid. If you don't know the story, unfamiliar with the plot line, spoiler alert, the tortoise always wins. Okay, and even if you don't know the story or any of the details of the story, you know the moral to that story. The moral is slow and steady wins the race. And that is such a profound truth for life. I mean, in any meaningful endeavor, it is consistency over time that gets the results. And let's be really honest, for most of us as humans, consistency doesn't come naturally. And you see this, of course, every year when we click over to a new year, January 1st, and people set New Year's resolutions to lose weight, to eat better, and the list goes on. People join a gym, they get a personal trainer, and they're really focused, really committed for like a week or maybe a month. By the end of January, they've reverted back to their old ways because consistency is a challenge. I heard someone say recently, losing weight would be a whole lot more entertaining if calories screamed as we burnt them. But that's the challenge. You don't see the impact as you go along. And so it's easy to lose heart and to give up. Consistency doesn't come naturally to us. And I was speaking at a conference recently, a fitness conference, where the speaker before me was talking about the psychology of consistency and talked about why it is as human beings we find consistency so tough. And one of the themes he talked about really stood out to me. And he said this, the reason we find it so difficult to be consistent is because as humans, we overestimate the impact of our choices in the short term, but we way underestimate the impact of our choices in the long term. Now, I often illustrate this at conferences when I'm speaking to groups by drawing on something I learned from Jeff Olson's book, The Slight Edge. And I often say to audiences, you know, how many of you have eaten something that was unhealthy, full of fat, full of sugar in the last 24 hours? Hands up. And of course, people all over the audience put their hands up, and I'll single someone out, and it might be chocolate, for instance. And I'll say, let's just play with this, for instance. Let's say you had that square of chocolate yesterday that you're now regretting having had. And you had that one piece of chocolate. And let's say after the first square of chocolate, you put on a whole lot of weight in all the places you wouldn't want the weight to be. Your blood pressure spiked. You know, you had a minor heart attack or a stroke. Would you go back for the second piece of chocolate? And of course I say, no way. I mean, step away from the chocolate, because that's sort of real-time feedback. There's no way you go back for the second bite. But that's not what happens. You know, you have that piece of chocolate and nothing changes. You don't put on any weight. Your blood pressure is unchanged. Everything seems fine. Doesn't seem to have had an impact. And so you have the second piece and the fourth piece and the 8th piece and the 15th piece of chocolate. And you know, the truth is you can have a whole block of chocolate every day for the next week and it'll probably not make much difference. You could do that every day for the next month and it'll start to make a difference. You do that every day. You eat a block of chocolate every day for the next year and it will definitely make a difference. See, in the short term, you don't see the impact, but it's the long-term consistent application of that activity. That's where the fruit lies. The chickens always come home to roost. It becomes clear the choices you've made over time over distance. And this is the great challenge, whether you're making good choices or bad choices. In the short term, you don't see the results. When it comes to good choices, you know, you get committed, you get focused. When you don't see results, you get discouraged and you quit, not realizing if you just stuck it out long enough, you'd start to see results. And being consistent over the long term, that's where the gold really lies. And I want to ask you this, in the next 12 months, do you want it to be an exceptional year? And I imagine if you're watching this video, you're probably thinking that'd be great, love to have an exceptional year. The reality is exceptional years are made up of exceptional months. And exceptional months are made up of exceptional weeks. And exceptional weeks are made up of exceptional days. And you could break it right down to minutes or seconds if you like. But the simple truth, and there's no way around this, it is the choices we make, good or bad, in the moment to moment, the minute to minute, the day to day, over time, that's where momentum is built or it's lost. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it's true. There is simply no way around this. There's no substitute for doing the right things in a focused way long enough to see the fruits of your effort. It won't happen overnight, as the old shampoo ad told us. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. So I want to leave it with you. Are you going to be consistent in the coming months and year? Because that is where momentum is built, or that's where momentum is lost.